Welcome to the Blackout Show, presented by the Guillen Grid, a show about the Chicago White Sox baseball, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll debate what's working and what's not on the south side of Chicago. It's old school versus new school baseball. And most importantly, we're keeping all the receipts.
Yo, what is up, everybody? It's Gonzo here. With me tonight, our guest, Tony Marchese from Sox on Tap and the creator of the On Tap Sports Net, joins us tonight with our boy Justin Lee and Ozzie Guillen Jr. Tony, real quick before I get to the nitty-gritty of the stats of it, I want your instant reaction of Robbie Grossman has been traded to the Texas Rangers for, I'm going to butcher this name, but
absolutely
Anthony Hoopy Tanietoa. Sure, we'll go with that one. Go ahead.
I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name either. So good job on that, Chris. Happy to join you guys. Instant reaction to that. I mean, it's a lottery pick again. That's all they're doing. Flipping vets for lottery picks. Not much to write home about. I don't know about you guys. Wasn't really moving the needle for me today.
So you know what? I might as well just get into the stats before I get the reactions of the other two. I had no clue who he was. I'm not going to pretend like I have watched any highlights or have seen him live or any of that bullshit. But he's a pitcher. All right. He was drafted in the 2019 draft in the 30th round. He was pick 895, and he's a pitcher. I was surprised, well, not by his draft selection, but when I pulled up the stats of him this year, in 10 games, he's got 1 win, no losses, ERA's at 0, and 12 innings pitched with, in those 12 innings, 16 strikeouts and a whip of .89. Solid start to the season. I don't know if that was in single A, but he's starting in double A in Birmingham, looking like that's where they moved him to begin the affiliated baseball for the White Sox. But in his career stats, he's got 83 games played, 9-7 record with a 3.15 ERA, 103 innings pitched with 146 strikeouts with a whip of 1.2. So a little bit of walks looks like it could be a little issue, but he's getting outs by those strikeouts in 103 innings. So I like that. At least off the stats. I mean, obviously I haven't watched him pitch, but very good potential, it seems. And the kid picked out of the 30th round. I'll be interested to see what his career path is going to look like here in Chicago. Go ahead, guys.
Well, I was surprised he didn't have a picture in the MLB page, but that's because the MLB page is always behind. He's Hawaiian. So, you know, his numbers in minor leagues. So I'm going to be very honest. So Major League Baseball is all about hype. And when I say it's all about hype, when you get drafted in the early rounds, you are the big name kind of tagged players. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you go to the minor leagues, but then everyone in the minor leagues is competing pretty much for the same jobs. So had this guy been drafted in the first 5 rounds, everyone would be going nuts because Major League Baseball put like a tag number on him and said, "Oh, this guy's a 25th, top prospect," and it's all BS. When you look at his numbers, though, from a development standpoint, his age, what he's done in the minor leagues, the fact that the Sox got a guy that is developing pretty decent, again, in the minor league system for Robbie Grossman, which is not going to fit right now in the White Sox. The project that they started with him of trying to get an average to below average player to become an everyday player did not work out. He ended up being sent to the minors, and they got a piece for him. So Robbie now gets to go to Texas and be himself, because as a backup utility player, his numbers are the same what he was doing with the Sox. The Sox were just expecting him to become an everyday player, and it didn't pan out. So in return, it was either going to be cash consideration, which again, it's just money, and you can't really have a body for it. You can't even spend it in like the Latin American draft, pool. So they got a pitcher. They have an arm. Again, it goes back to the Bannister, the lab and what they got. And they probably picked up a body of somebody that they think they can work with and try to, get something out of him. So I don't see anything wrong with this move whatsoever. They're trying to get a piece for the future. And again, he's a prospect. His numbers are not like, whoa, what an amazing pitcher, but he's developing pretty well, pretty set numbers.
So I'm gonna keep this pretty brief. I gotta address this. Number one, KG. No, I didn't lose my shirt betting on my fantasy baseball team. But since you asked, we're fighting for our fucking life. It's Wednesday. We're down big. We gotta climb, okay? And we got to fucking climb. All right. Number two, I'm gonna be completely honest about the guy we just traded for. I don't know anything about him. Most of the letters in his last name don't fit together. When I say the alphabet, none of those letters connect. So I don't know what I'm looking at on that front. But you had to get Robbie Grossman off the team because, number one, Bryan Ramos is commanding at bats right now. Number two, you're going to have to make a roster spot for Yohan Moncada, who's the dark cloud looming. He's going to be back in that lineup. Okay. Pedro Grifol already showed his hand. He called up Zach Remillard. That's another spot on the big boy club. So getting Robbie Grossman, there's going to be other trades. I wouldn't be surprised if Paul DeYoung is on a bus going somewhere pretty soon. Like, we are coming up on that point to where the 40-man roster is going to start getting decimated. And we're going to see going into 2025 what Chris Getz wants to have as the foundation. The only way you do that is getting the debris off the damn roster. So I don't know anything about the pitcher, but me, Justin Lee, the GM, I think it's just clearing another roster spot for guys that's just coming in the pipeline. Like we talked about fucking Project Birmingham. It's real. And they're gonna be funneling guys in and out. Getting the veteran getting those veteran guys off the team is paramount for Chris Getz and Pedro Grifol if they're gonna see what's gonna materialize going forward.
So I have a question for you guys, and this is something that will probably take us to our next segment eventually, but because we talk about this gentleman a lot, we saw Ozzy kind of go off and his frustration with comments made. Would we be judging Chris Getz a little bit different had he moved away from Pedro Grifol already? Would we be looking at him in more of a positive light and the rest of the front office?
Somebody email
I think
Gonzo and
so.
tell him he's mute.
I'm asking Tony. I'm asking you guys because. So I'm going to say my. So Tony agrees. So Tony says yes. So I'm gonna be completely honest, and I have a personal relationship with the Getz family. Meaning I've known him for a long time. Mad respects for Chris, for his wife, for his kids. There's a personal relationship there. I haven't started judging, like, even though I know him personally, I think that he's done an okay job and he's like kind of trying to do better. But until he gets rid of like that, I don't start counting his time of like, okay, now this is the real deal. Like, I don't see Pedro as the guy that's developing these guys. I'm actually holding it against him that he's actually kind of wasting a year of development because of having him there. That's how I see it. I feel like the moment that he lets him and other staff member go, I feel like, okay, now your tenure has really started of what you want to do moving forward. I really do. I think that he would be looked at, and I know people have said the man doesn't matter and, they're still going to lose games. And it was back to Ozzy's point of when you're looking at these players that you're trying to move, you want guys to play better for the Sox because Chris was not given a lot and he's trying to move pieces either for cash or for bodies that they're trying to find and develop. And that's something that has been done in the past. I'll give you guys an example. When they traded for a guy named Juan Uribe, people were like, who the F is this guy from Colorado? Nobody knew him. It was like a rando guy. And it was like, hey, can we get a guy that can play shortstop, potentially in the future that has like a huge upside. Let's see if we can develop him. And they did. So I feel like Chris and the team are trying to find like bodies to make a mix so that they don't have to go and fill in so many spots in free agency. We already saw Bryan Ramos. I'm really concerned with the way they're going to develop him because I think he's a key piece. I'm not saying he's a superstar or going to be a superstar, but I think
he's the guy. He's definitely
no. He's going to be an everyday. I want him to be an everyday big league player, meaning when you make the lineup, Bryan Ramos is going to be part of the White Sox lineup for 6 to 8 years to come down the line. That you don't lose him in 2 or 3 years because he wasn't developed well. This is like where we're at right now with Andrew Vaughn. And it's very sad to say of Andrew Vaughn shows sparks of being great, but are the Sox going to be able to keep him for 6 to 8 years? Or is he going to be like a Diane Visadio, Daniel Pauca, guys that like showed that's what they can't have with Bryan Ramos because he's there for a key position. Same with Colson.
Yeah, we're definitely going to dive into that coming up here shortly. But to answer your question, OJ, say what you want, whoever's watching, listeners, whatever, about what I got to say. But my judgment is I've already moved on from Chris Getz, and that started off with that first move of keeping Pedro Grifol as the manager.
Wow,
like, Yuri fucked up from the beginning.
But what happened what happened if he can't get rid of him though, Gonzo?
I was going to say there's probably a reason he's still there, and that reason is coming from above Chris Getz.
But that's also probably why he was kept or not promoted.
So Chris Getz is basically herpes. You can't get rid of him.
Can't get rid of him.
I think
Pedro Grifol.
To wrap this up, though, I'll give him credit for this first trade of the potential of this kid with dealing Robbie Grossman for this kid. Again, wrapping this up, this is a 23-year-old, right? That stage of his minor league prospect path with his career here. He's right on the rise. He's right at that right age that I'm excited to see what this kid has, coming up here shortly. But real quick, before we get to our favorite Grifol that we were just talking about, we got a live event, folks, and it is this Monday night. Here you go, guys. For anyone that's listening to us, this next Monday coming up here, Monday the 13th, we're going to be at Little Joe's on the west side of the city. It is 1041 West Taylor Street in Chicago. And yes, El Bandito, which is Chris Chelios' tequila company, they're going to be sponsoring the event. Our live podcast, again, Monday, May 13th at 7 p.m. It is going to be in the back patio. Obviously, weather permitting. If it starts to rain, we'll be inside. Regardless if it's on the patio or inside, it's going to be nice conditions for the show. I'm happy with either or. It doesn't look like it's going to rain, so it should be the best event. It's going to be outside on the back patio, which is even better because I love that patio setting that KG's got. Yeah. Again, we would love to join anyone that can make the event. Please make it. Have a fun evening with us. There's going to be surprises, and I'm excited for it. Guys, we'll promote it again later, but don't miss out on this.
How many El Banditos can Mr. Dragon Rider drink?
I'm going to be honest with you, and this might be news to you, Gonzo, and Tony, you're privy to this. There is no rain delays in drinking. When you crack them, that's rain, sleet, or snow on any soil, foreign or domestic. Monday the 13th, sponsored by El Bandito at Joe's Place. It's going down, people.
There's going to be a lot of blackout drinks flowing that evening.
I was just going to say a lot of black people, man. That's putting a lot of pressure on me, Gonzo.
The blackout cocktail is the premier drink that evening. It is very tasty. We had it in the fall when we met KG for I think it was Sunday Night Football that me and Justin got to see. But nevertheless, guys, this is Grifol's Grounds.
I don't have a problem making decisions. I don't have a problem making a call on on a pitcher. I don't have a problem making a call on whatever our team needs at this particular moment.
All right, guys. This past series from the past week it's had its ups and downs with Mr. Pedro Grifo. I'll start with the positives first because why not? Let's start with some positive energy here. I gotta give him some credit for playing Bryan Ramos and with the call up, and in doing so, his first start, he had his very first at bat sacrifice fly to the outfield for his first ribby, and then that next at bat, he had a base hit for that first hit of his career.
Did you cry?
No, absolutely. Normally, we've seen a lot of these prospects being called up and riding the bench and then being sent back down to Charlotte. We've seen it with Sosa when he was first called up. We saw it with Popeye, Jose Rodriguez. And the names go on and on. So I got to give him some credit for finally doing the right thing and playing the kid. And he's been hot. He's been 300. He's been putting the ball in play this evening. I like what I've seen so far out of Ramos, and I hope he keeps it up because it's one of the only sparks in the lineup we got right now.
Didn't he quote and said that he was not going to sacrifice winning MLB games for playing prospects? Which again, it's one of the worst quotes you can ever have on a year of development. And the fact that
you remember that quote, was it this year or last year?
This year.
He made
It was last year.
Yeah, he made it last year.
I thought it was last year.
No, but he said
he doubled.
It was the Lenine Sosa gate.
No, but he said it again with Bryan Ramos.
He doubled down on it.
He doubled down with Bryan Ramos, and that's when I was. So with Bryan Ramos, so Lenny Sosa is a little different. Lenny Sosa doesn't even start in his winter ball team in Venezuela. So the Lenny Sosa thing, he doesn't. He doesn't start for Caracas. He doesn't. When he plays, he doesn't start. He's a backup guy. So I knew the Lenny Sosa thing was going to be him and Popeye were like, they were on the list because they were on the list. The White Sox need to have a top 10 prospects. They had to put somebody there. They made the list. Bryan Ramos, on the other hand, he's like the Hispanic version of Colson. Okay, he's a 1-2 punch. He's a guy that everyone has very high on their list. He's a guy that they're counting on for the future. So you need to see what he can bring at the big league level. Why? Because we've talked about AAA, and you can go and dominate AAA, and then suffer in the big leagues, and it's going to take a couple of years to kind of develop there. So I want to see what he can do and not do, and let him have success, let him struggle, let him kind of become an everyday player. The fact that we have to that we're applauding that the manager on a rebuild team is getting credit for playing the future prospects is embarrassing as it is. The fact that is the credit that he gets, it's embarrassing because the team at this moment lacks talent. Okay. But there's a difference between talent and you making the fans believe something that's not there. And that's where I think that my problem now is there. Well, I'm just saying though, every day is
I'm a Moncada stan, so that fucking hurts, OJ.
But I'm talking about, I'm going to give you an example, with Moncada, with anybody. When you say that you're going to make guys accountable, you're going to make guys accountable. And I'm not saying that you're going to have to berate them, on a post-game show or there's ways to hold guys accountable, and no one has been held accountable for really, really bad baseball. The White Sox are not only
Oscar Colas was held accountable.
Yeah,
he's the only one.
He's the only one. So other than guys getting sent down,
hold up, Nostrini too.
I know, but other than guys getting sent down, I'm tired. I don't know if it's just that. I think people are getting tired of the same. We're working hard. We're doing this. We're doing that. And in reality, we're finding out that they're really not working. We talked about that Minnesota game where Minnesota went and took infield, outfield. The Sox were not on the field. We've heard rumors and rumblings from the clubhouse some things are optional. And then, beat writers take stuff down. But then every single day he comes and tells us, they're working hard. They're going to be there. The makeup and, these guys have a track record of succeeding. And it's all these words that are no, they don't. You're developing big league player guys. This is not the same roster that you had last year. And I think people are getting really frustrated because not only are you failing in the X's and O's as a manager, okay, but there's no, like, you're not getting upset. I'm going to bring up the game in Tampa where they had runners in scoring position. Your offense is horrible. You didn't bunt. Okay, that's fine. You don't believe in the bunting. But then your next two hitters see less than 5 pitches and don't do anything. 2 little weak pop-ups. That's a moment where you are saying to the media or to the individuals, this is what we're going to address, and you let them know. Today in 670, the score, I think it was Mully, brought something up. Who is Pedro talking to in the postgame? Like, is he talking like when he's thinking and he's talking to him, is he thinking he's like telling Jerry or Chris Getz? Because it's not the fans. I'm being serious. Like, when he's talking to the media, I don't know that he realizes that it's like you're talking to like everyone out there in the White Sox stratosphere of. So I'm getting to the point where I'm really concerned now because you're starting to bring in key pieces like Bryan Ramos, like players that should be playing every day. I'll give him again, I guess, credit. He's playing Corey Lee a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that's credit, but he's not really doing the things for the Sox to be competing for the future. Like, if you're going to lose and lose with your prospects, that's fine. But saying that you're not going to sacrifice big league games when you have guys that are, these veterans, but they're hitting 150. If I'm going to have somebody hit 150, I want Tony to tell me, I want a prospect to hit 150. Not some guy that's not going to be here.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, bro, when Lenine Sosa ran a guy 90% back to the fucking base and then threw the ball home, I'm like, I got a 7-year-old nephew that wouldn't make that mistake. You know what I'm saying? You're telling me you're working hard on the fundamentals, and then you have that happen while my manager is a developmental guy. So
Well,
what
when
are you working on?
he started Bryan Ramos' debut as a defensive replacement with the game on the line.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like unheard. Like, people don't realize this and think that like we're trying to talk crap about Grifol. That doesn't
How
happen
many
in
baseball
the baseball
sins
world.
are committed every day? This man is at
No,
the
but I'm
helm.
saying the list of text messages that you get from like former White Sox people, former players, like either making fun of it or like, what the hell is going on over there? Because those are things that are like, and it's not, I'm not going to say the word unwritten rules. It's just so unorthodox that it doesn't happen, that it gets to the point of like, not only are we worried about the future and what Chris Getz is going to do and not, but the person on the field is not giving me the confidence of, look at the Oakland Athletics. Okay. They're in the middle of a development. They're developing guys, but they're grinding every game out. Okay, they're playing games where they're finding ways to compete. And when you look at the White Sox, the games, how many games they've lost that they've either been leading or they just like went completely collapsed. I really feel like this team, the talent's not to be a 500 team, but they should be playing better than they are right now. And I feel like that is contagious to these prospects where we have people on Twitter saying, oh, I don't want Colson Montgomery up in the big leagues, not with this guy managing. And that's a concern, because if you think that is that detrimental at that position, then you're costing yourself years of development. Because again, I think that 2028 year, 2027 is so key because of all the money that's contract wise, unless he's really going to plan on moving, Pantera and everybody else. And it's going to be more of a 6-year build than more than a 2-year build.
Well, here's the thing, Ozzy. They haven't really stated what the plan is here. And Getz doesn't have to come out and say, this is going to be a 3-year, this is going to be a 5-year, but at least let people know what's going on. My biggest thing with this is we came into this year and the official statements were, we're going to compete. We're playing in the AL Central, all the same bullshit that we've heard over and over again. So what does that set the expectation for the common fan? Not even people who are extremely tuned into the team, like everybody here.
I gotta ask Tony.
But yeah, go ahead, Justin.
What's your concrete reaction right now as a White Sox fan? How do you feel about the team as a whole? Give me just your uncut, unsolicited opinion right now.
This is the worst product I've seen in my life as a White Sox fan. It's terrible. You don't really know what's going on. Junior just brought up a couple of really good points about, people don't want Colson Montgomery up because of the guy managing. You've got, the managers locked in. You hear the reports of, Jerry doesn't want to let him go because, he doesn't want to eat the money on that contract. Everything seems stuck in a spot where not even Getz is going to be able to maneuver and fix this. I like some of the hires they made as far as coaches, from Bannister to Barfield and some of the guys that they brought in. But that sort of flies in the face of what they said when they brought Chris Getz in, that we needed to make this quick. And then we're sitting here and it looks like a 5-year build. So I don't know. I'm confused as a fan. I'm confused as a White Sox podcaster. I'm confused on how to feel every single day. You can't get a number 1 overall draft pick for being the worst team because you're locked in from this year's draft. It feels like there is so much of a hole that they are in right now that it feels helpless. That's what it really feels like right now. It feels helpless. You don't know where the light is at the end of the tunnel. At least with the last rebuild, you were able to get excited about stuff. Now I feel like I was scammed by Bernie Madoff. That's how I feel about this team.
Yeah. Bro, to piggyback off that, Tony, I romanticize and I have an affinity for the American League. I'm going to tell somebody, okay, I'm bisexual. Everybody, I'm bisexual. Red or white, I don't care. I'm Sox fluid. This is a fucking shit show. You gave me Magli Ordonez, Jermaine Dye, Paul Konerko, Carl Everett, Jose Valentin, AJ Przinsky, some of the most prolific OGs in American League history. And now we've come to hoping Eloy plays. I got to have my fingers crossed on Bryan Ramos because we fucked up everybody else. Oh, by the way, Yohan Moncada and his albatross of a fucking contract is coming back too. And we got to hope that there's a trade partner for that. Like, at the end of the day, Tony, I got to talk about this team. And there's a lot of fans out there that dive into the numbers, dive into contracts, dive into the history of the game way more than me, way more than these green eyes. And they're fed up too. And we've come to a point to where the only way to unify this fucking cesspool is to come to the agreement that we are totally fucked. And it's sad because we have a historic, a decent history, good enough on the South Side. You know what I'm saying? You gave me a couple rings. We got goats. We got people worthy of statues. We don't ask for much. But when we turn on the television, you mean to tell me John Shriffen is the only reason we watch this team? We watch this team to make sure Gonzo's conspiracy theories don't come true. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think it's like even worse than like when you're looking at when the rebuilds, like, the Jeff Sermaja years and the Melky Cabreras where they went for it. No, but I'm saying, no, but they're not even doing that anymore. Like, those guys were signed, and I know people complain that they never bought a really big superstar, but they really tried fixing holes with guys that were like, wow, that guy was an upside. I'll give you an example. A guy that White Sox fans, ended up not liking a lot, the Grandal signing, okay? Well, Grandal at the moment was very sought out after. They just picked the wrong guy. But it was like a name. But they don't even have names right now. This is a part where this is
Noodle Boy.
No, I'm saying where Tony just hit a point about where concerns about like what the future, the last rebuild, when you looked at it on paper, and this is where I'm like not so hard on Rick Hahn. I shouldn't have extended them, but the trades were great. He traded for guys that everyone in baseball thought they were going to be amazing players. Okay.
That goes back to the hype you talked about, though, Ozzy, earlier.
Correct. Hype. Yeah, correct. The Eloy.
It's a hype show.
So I'll put it this way. Moncada not making it, and somebody asked me this, was like Caleb Williams not making it. Because Moncada in the minor leagues, if you put them side by side, and that's what I was giving Gonzo crap this week, because they're like, oh, how come you're not excited about any of the prospects? I'm like, unless they completely break the realm, they all have struggled in the minor leagues. I was like, Moncada, Eloy, and Pantera destroyed the minor leagues. When I'm talking about destroyed it, it was like, oh, those guys shouldn't even be down there.
They were getting intentionally walked in AAA.
Correct. So the fact that they couldn't do it here is like, okay, so these prospects are going to have to like just completely blow everyone's mind because we don't have at least the name on paper. So we're like, wow, we have the best prospects in the Major League Baseball going to be the future. They keep telling us as a hype that these guys are going to be. But when you look at them, compare them to other minor leaguers and the production that they have in the minor leagues, these guys are not even average. Like when you look at the top 10 hitters in the, everyone's like, all right, Project Birmingham. I'm like, oh, really? Like, look at the players' numbers. Yeah, they got wins and whatnot, but like, is that really the future? So that's the part where it's so concerning about not having the number one pick. That's not possible because of the way that it's set up. Really looking at like how they're going to build, because again, Tony, you cannot say, well, they're going to open up the bank and just sign a bunch of players for a lot of money, because they've never done that. So it's like, is this going to be like a 2-year turnaround, or like, is this going to be way longer? Because you're not moving your manager, which that's usually the first thing you do when you're hitting the panic button and saying, hey, we need to restructure all this stuff. Not even the manager. I'm talking about Ethan Katz, who's been there for multiple years. No one has been let go from the organization standpoint since Kenny and Rick Hahn have been let go from the beginning of, like, during this whole mess of a season. Like, not even just to like get yourself feeling good. And that's a part where everybody's getting concerned, because they cannot seem to catch fire, and the energy and the momentum is not there. And that's, I think they're not learning how to play baseball the right way. I think that's just the biggest concern.
But
Yeah,
real
go ahead,
quick,
Gonzo.
yeah, real quick before we dive into the rabbit hole of development, I wanted to wrap up this Grifal's grounds with a quick observation, which we've all seen before. But on the first Tampa Bay game, Sox were down 4-2. Got runners on first and second, no outs. Sure enough, Grifal never put a bunt down or anything to advance the runners over, and we stranded 2 on base. Could have put a bunt down, and then right before Vaughn, because Vaughn put a nice fly ball to the outfield that would have scored.
But why didn't he put a bunt down? He's not an analytical manager, but he's not an old school manager. Like, we don't know like what manager. That's the part where it's concerning. Like, if it was like the Houston Astros, you're like, we know that we don't bunt. Like, that's just like what the White Sox don't bunt. We don't do that. That's okay. But the Sox don't know what they are. One day he manages like he's old school and he's Sparky Anderson, and the next day he manages like he's freaking Mr. Analytical, and he does so. You don't. That's why I made
That's because he's watching the timeline.
No, that's why I made the thing. Man. I made the comment, Pedro Lytics. I really do. I really literally think he makes up his own stuff in his head, and it feels like when he does the press conference, like he goes and watches movies, like motivational movies, and drops quotes from movies. It doesn't come like, if you guys, I don't know if you guys have done this. Go listen to other newbie managers. Like, there's a million press conferences on YouTube. If you want to go to Rick Renteria, Ozzie Guillen, like, you know which one's really funny? Ozzie Guillen 2004, Ozzie Guillen 2006. Very different.
So Pedro was kind of like Nagy. He's saying all the right shit, but the actions don't back it up.
No, the thing is,
I don't think he's saying the right shit at all, Gonzo.
I don't think he's saying the right thing at all.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the right stuff
as far as what he wants us to believe, he's trying to say the right shit, but it's not backing up on the action side of it.
You could open mouth and say words. That's fine. But even the, you know, we're working hard on this. It's not just, you know, I'm not going to question what the player's work ethic is going into it. I'm sure there's guys there that care. I'm sure there's guys there that want to be the best Major League Baseball player they can be. But there's a severe talent problem on the roster.
Bingo.
Correct. And he can't develop either, because he's claiming himself to be this great developer where I'm getting players that are mediocre. Here's the part I think he's nuts. Perfect example on the series on Grifal's grounds. Tanner Banks gets interviewed after the game, and so does Pedro Grifal. Pedro Grifal says, we won this game because we were able to stay focused for 3 hours to get the win. Okay? They talked to Tanner Banks. Tanner Banks says, staying focused for 3 hours is really hard. I went and took a nap, and, you know, it really helped me out, come out feeling more relaxed. So it's like, you can see how full of it Pedro is, because Pedro wants fans to believe that everyone was in the
right there, OJ, that
video. And that's where I think it's when someone is a liar and you're lying, that's worse than being bad, because in your head, you think that you're good. There's managers that have been great because they're just like nonchalant and let guys be guys. Like, every fan's there. Everyone knows that for 3 hours, it's going to be hard to stay focused. You know, C.B. Buckner came out and just called a strike on a ball that was like 10 inches out because he was
And the
probably
rain delay.
Yeah, I'm just saying though, it's really hard to stay in any human being to stay focused that long. So for you to come out and sell that that's the reason why you won, it makes me think like, did you literally sit there for 3 hours and try to rehearse this answer and lie, and you're literally lying because it's not true. You won the game because CB Parker made a bad call and you were able to pull it off. And you're like, you know what? I'm glad the call went our way and Tanner got the save. Don't have to overcomplicate it. He wants to make it seem that he's here developing these future superstars.
And
he's not.
That's the big difference from Nagy and Pedro Grifol. Pedro Grifol doesn't understand the people that he's delivering information to are a little bit more in tune with the game of baseball than football. Football is X's and O's, okay? Defensive plays, offensive plays, whatever. Baseball fans, we watch the game for 9 innings. We understand, like, hey, you as a manager only gets X amount of chances to have an effect on the game. The lineup, the bullpen, or whatever, in the press conference. You're the only manager in White Sox history to botch all 3 phases of that more times than not. Matt Nagy was winning games at least while he was bullshitting us. Pedro Grifol is making us the laughing stock of the American League and bullshitting us. Along
Nagy,
with, we still have to buy Jerry's tickets.
Nagy had a lot more talent on the roster.
It doesn't matter.
By the way, Gonzo, the talent thing,
Nagy wasn't here to develop.
They gave Pedro Grifol, Ozzie Guillen interviewed for the job because they said that they were going to win the division. I am so tired of fans telling me that he had no talent. No, because Ozzie Guillen interviewed, Joe Espada interviewed, Carlos Mendoza interviewed. They interviewed superstars, guys with credentials to take that job because they thought that they had the team ready. And now everybody's saying that he didn't have any talent is a bunch of crap. Because everyone was celebrating.
Hold up.
Everyone was celebrating when him and Rick Hahn were smiling, and everybody said we got the Division 1. This guy was a complete failure. A complete failure. His roster was better than Robbie Ventura's roster when he got there. Was better than Rick Renteria's roster when we got there. And you can argue that on paper that it was better than 2004 roster than when Ozzie got there. So Pedro Grifol's record does not speak for what he can do. And then the second part of all that, okay. Let's say you can't win with the big boys. You're not developing good players because there's managers that develop good players. I can name you a bunch of them. Pedro's not developing anyone. Who has he developed since he's been here? Somebody that we're like, oh, that guy's trying to stay, getting better under Pedro.
He developed Tommy Pham.
OJ, I'm not saying that they don't have talent here. I'm saying if Justin was trying to compare the two, the Bears and Nagy's was that his first year in 18?
Yeah, Pedro's first year, he had a
we
great
believed
team.
that they were a game away from the Super Bowl because of the kicker when that was completely not true.
And so were the White Sox. The White Sox thought that they were a manager away.
A position away from the World Series.
I just want to say this before we go off.
Hold up. I made the comparison. I made the comparison because both of these, Pedro and Nagy, talked their way into keeping the position with no accountability. Nagy was able to talk to the McCaskies for him to keep that job when I think he should have been fired in 19, and he kept that until I think 21 it was, an extra 2 years. So in this situation for Pedro, he's had this. Again, we've said this on the show. We believe he should have been fired this offseason when Getz got the job. His first move should have been setting the foundation with his manager. His manager.
Chris, real quick, do you think if the White Sox were serious about hiring a real GM from outside this organization, would Pedro Grifol still be here? Because I don't believe
No. He
I
shouldn't
think he
be.
cleans house.
That's the short answer.
I think he cleans house because, again, the fact, and maybe Pedro convinced him that he was a great developer. And then this season,
he kissed his ass right away. We'll go back and watch some of the comments.
When he said he didn't like this team either. Yeah, that's the first. My first concern was when Rick and these guys got fired, he pretended that he was not a Rick Hahn and a Kenny Williams guy. He threw those guys completely under the bus and said, oh, I didn't like this team either. Really? Because you've been telling us for 6 months how much you love this team.
Didn't you develop this team?
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. But now the concern is, okay, let's say those guys are not his guys. Who is he developing that we can say? And this was the easy sell. This team is going to get better defensively. If the White Sox record was exactly like it is right now, but the White Sox were ranked number 1 in defense or in the top 5, you say, hey, you know what? This guy's working really good. We might have problems in the back end where we can't close games out, but they're developing really well, which, by the way, is what Oakland's going through, what the Washington Nationals are going through. They stay in games, and then they're missing a couple pieces where they can't compete with the big teams. The White Sox, and I think this is Tony's concern as well, they're behind on every single category in Major League Baseball. They're behind in hitting. They're behind in situational hitting. They're behind on defense. They're behind on, running the bases. Every single stat, old school or new school, the White Sox are dead last. It's not like this analytical team where, wow, they really suck on the new school stats, but they're really good at like the new analytics. They're last in every single analytic purpose. Anything you can look at it, they're not good. So that's a concern. Is like, wait, this guy's not even developing the next group of players. And this is going to be the perfect example. He's got Bryan Ramos. We'll see what he can do with Bryan Ramos, because until this moment, he has not developed anyone in this team right now.
Nobody.
And that, folks, ends Griffball's Grounds.
Slam the door on that shit.
Slam the door on that shit. All right. Gentlemen, we had Chuck Garfien interview Sergio Santos.
Oh, boy.
We had a Nightengale tweet break the freaking social media. Let's get to it, guys. This is Stone Pony Tweets. All right, folks, this tweet here just sums up what Nightengale rumored, and it was the White Sox are expected to trade Fedde, Flexen, who had a solid performance tonight, versus Tampa Bay Rays, Clevenger, Kopech, Eloy, and Tommy Pham this summer. Not shockingly, Robbie Grossman wasn't in this tweet. Just kidding, guys. But guys, a part of this was mentioned that both Robert and Crochet were less likely to be involved in these rumors. If we're trying to completely blow this up and rebuild and develop, your assets, why aren't these guys involved in these negotiation and trade rumors? My opinion, they absolutely should be involved.
I got a question.
Maybe not Crochet, because you probably should give him this season to totally break in as a starter, but definitely next year. He should be involved in negotiations as this next course is hopefully brought up in 25. Everybody, Quero, Montgomery, they should all be here by then. But the biggest name out of this is Luis Robert Jr. Why isn't he in this less likely conversation when that is right now your most valuable asset to trade away to bring in more value? Because let's face it, when you look at this core, we're the number 3 ranked farm system, right? A lot of that has to do with pitchers. I know. Junior, just work with me here.
Yeah.
A lot of this is pitching prospects, guys. Position players, there is a good divider between Montgomery and Quero and Ramos. You have a whole lot of holes to fill, and you got to get it going here. You got to have some balance all around guys to develop. And you got some teams like Baltimore Orioles, the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers, all of whom are going to be looking for an elite bat here at the trade deadline, all of whom have at least 3 to 5 prospects in the top 100, guys that can come in right now and be contributors towards this next contention window. I could think of 3 to 4 names off the top of my head from each farm system, but I'll let you guys
got a question.
take it away.
I just got a question, because we've heard Yoan Moncada's name in trade talks for the past year and a half now.
Not getting
You can't trade his contract. So I'm thinking, since Gonzo said Luis Roberts' name wasn't on the boob tweet, can we honestly see the White Sox going out and making an aggressive move to pair somebody with Luis Robert?
They're
Is it a
scared.
strong?
No, they're scared that Luis Robert is going to blow up and be the
Really?
player. I think that they're looking at the contract and they're scared that he's going to blow up and be the player that they are. Here's the other part, and I want Tony to give the insight on this. White Sox fans think that the White Sox are not aware that they suck at developing. Okay, just because they tell us that they don't think that they suck at developing doesn't mean that they don't believe it. Okay, so when you're going to make a move for a guy like Pantera, you better believe with that contract and how friendly it is, you better believe that you're bringing back some players that are going to play Major League Baseball every day, because that's a move that will get yourself fired. Okay, that's a big move, and that's why I think that unless they bring a deal where there is like big league ready players right now, then you don't make it, because I think that trading a player at that caliber with those tools and everybody can see them for prospects, very dangerous. Very, very, very dangerous, because it would have to be like Moncada was already ready for the big leagues. Like Chris Sale got moved for Moncada because Moncada was like, big league ready.
He had already played games with Boston already.
Right, that's what I mean.
They already had a sample size.
It's gonna have to be for a position player. Like it would have to be like a Brian Rocchio and Andres Jimenez. Like,
Come on, man!
I'm just saying. No, I'm just being said like an Oswald Peraza and like players that they think that already have
Colby Hauser.
Guys that have at least played at least down 100 at bats, and even then it's super dangerous. That's why I think everybody's available. I think that the tweet in itself is just like they put names on there. That's why I think it's funny when people are rooting against these veterans, including Clevenger. You want all these veterans to play really well, because then they will bring something in return, from Maldonado to Tommy Pham to, again, we just saw Grossman be one of those guys, because those guys are going to bring back some talent. If somebody right now on another team calls Chris Getz in the White Sox front office and they say like, hey, I want Nicky Lopez, they will move him. Like I think everybody right now on this roster is movable because they're trying to build the future.
So how many, let's just say they did it, how many prospects you feel they can get for Robert? A number. Just give me a number.
A body or bodies?
Yes.
I would say
how many bodies?
3 or 4.
Like an Andrew Painter, Aiden Miller.
By the way, they better be better than the prospects that came for Yelich, or the prospects that the Marlins got for Yelich, or the prospects that Marlins got for Miguel Cabrera.
Tony,
I don't
do you
see.
feel
I don't know
this
what
is
is
possible.
I don't know what his. I mean, obviously he's a superstar talent, but he's also had problems staying on the field, and that's something that can severely reduce what you're going to get back. The other thing there is he is on a team-friendly deal, so he does have that going for him. But at that rate, why are we so quick to rush some of these guys off the team? Are we pissed off because he's always injured? That's fine, but what are we trying to solve for here? Because you need at least some reason to put butts in seats or eyes on television for this team. And I think Getz knows that. I think Jerry knows that. Luis Robert Jr. is a selling point for the Chicago White Sox right now at this very moment that people tune in to watch. Gonzo, I know you're a Hawks fan as well. Remember what it was like when Connor Bedard was out for the Hawks? Nobody wanted to watch them. Nobody wanted to watch him. So we're in that period right now with the Chicago White Sox. There's no reason to really watch this team unless you're tuning in to try and see guys develop, but you're not even getting that. So for me, if you move on from Luis Robert Jr., it does need to be a sexy headliner name that's pretty much major league ready and ready to come up here and be a fan favorite, because this thing is already stripped down enough where it's uninteresting. There's nothing there. It's very uninteresting baseball. Junior, your dad said it best yesterday. He's sick of watching this shit day in and day out. On the
he's sick because it's not the way that they're competing. Is like they're not even playing hard. There was a tweet the other day. They showed the play from Ivan Calderon in Detroit stealing the home run, the famous play, climbed the wall. One of the worst White Sox years ever. I think it was 87. And the guy says this is not a very good team, but boy, do they play with passion and they grind it out on the field. And it was like, wow, like that's like saying something because there was key players there that developed into becoming great White Sox players later on. And it was a nitty-gritty team, and it was like that all the way till they won the division. You don't get that from this team. Again, all marketing, all selling. I wouldn't get rid of Pantera because I think that other than his injuries, which have been real injuries, I think that when he's on the field, he's been able to produce. And his contract is at a point where it's not a detriment to the team, okay? For example, had they never signed Joan Moncada to his extension, he would not be a detriment to the team. The mistake was that Rick Hahn, instead of using the years of arbitration, he tried to play sneaky and try to get a team deal with Moncada. Thankfully, they didn't do the same with TA. Right now, one of the best moves that Rick Hahn ever made was not extending TA, because TA would have been on a huge contract when everyone in the White Sox fan base would have been like, they were all screaming to extend TA and give him 100. Big TA,
King Mac,
the 100 million guy. Make him, he deserves it. After the home run he did he hit in the field, everyone's like, give him 200 million. He's worth it. TA right now is a couple months away from playing on a league minimum deal. Come get invited to spring training. So you have a guy in a team-friendly deal in a year of a rebuild where if he gets better, his value only goes up. If he gets worse, it is what it is. Because I don't think he's ever going to be worse than the Andrew Benintendi deal, from a value standpoint. So I would keep Pantera just because of that. Okay. And anyone that I think would develop, because as a position player, I think that you still need a cornerstone in order to, it's going to be really hard for them to develop another Pantera from a tool level standpoint. When you look at this guy, 5 tools, there's not many Panteras just running around.
I don't see him. I don't think he's 5-tool player though.
But that's what he presents though. I'm not saying he's going to become, I don't think that he's going to, I don't think he's going to execute on all 5 tools, but he is 5 tools players. He runs above average. His defense was there at one point. He's got power. He can hit frat. Like the tools are there. The difference is, are those tools going to develop into the future? Like if I got Andrew Vaughn,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
He's an average player. Unless you get something crazy, you cannot take that risk.
So OJ,
people don't talk about it, but his arm is a liability.
No,
we got runners running first to third all day.
I want to get into that right now because I play in a bullshit weekend league, right? I play center field.
Oh God, that's a bad team.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I guarantee you, I'm Gold Glove automatically All-Star. Hey, hold on, bro. I can guarantee you, OJ, there's nobody on the White Sox or on the team right now that can long toss with me. I'll just put that out there right now. Nobody on the White Sox roster can fucking long toss with me right now. All right. Number 2, there are severe gaps in the technical parts of Pantera's game. He doesn't set his feet when it's time to deliver a baseball to the cutoff man. That's why he's never hitting anybody in the chest. He doesn't have as a center fielder with a platinum glove, look at his outfield assist numbers. You mean to tell me Kevin Kiermaier is a better defender than him? Yeah.
If you get Pantera playing under the right manager, Pantera's a top 5 candidate MVP every single year.
When Pantera gets 32 years old and I got to move him to right field, he's going to be a liability because he's not going to get thrown.
Then the White Sox will finally have a right fielder, Justin.
And the White Sox will probably have a right fielder. By the way,
oh my God, Tony, I'm going to kill myself.
By the way, if you can find a way to develop and move Pantera to right field, he would have solved so many of your problems. The fact is, if you remove Pantera,
we traded Nick Swisher away.
You need again, everyone. This is a part where I think White Sox fans are funny because they want to get rid of everybody. Okay, but yet
because this is a rebuild.
Hold on, but they want to rebuild. Hold on, but they want to rebuild in 2 years. If you get rid of everybody, you're not rebuilding in 2 years. I don't care how good the Birmingham project is. Not all 9 guys in the Birmingham team are going to be able to play in the big leagues.
Junior, that's the point we're making, though. Well, at least what I'm making. I'm saying this core. I'm saying this farm system as it is, out of position players, is not good enough to get us to where we need to be.
And it's not good enough from a pitching standpoint, Gonzo, either. The fact that they're ranked number 3 in the prospect.
Is there anybody capable of taking this team over the hump as is right now?
A player? No.
Okay, anybody in the organization with a talent that can take us over the hump?
Not right now. I think all of them they're all too young to tell.
So best case scenario for 2025 is what? We win 70 games?
I think you should be able to try to get it 500. I think that you have to build a culture and build players here. I think that the
We
White
need
Sox,
a hero.
No, I think that the White Sox fans are going to already know. The White Sox, the fans
Is
are about to
Maglio
realize
healthy?
they're going to become Tampa without the winning record of Tampa.
Oh my
Meaning
God.
Tampa. By the way, Tampa Bay is always bargain shopping. They're not buying at the elite store on Michigan Avenue. They're at
Tampa
Dollar
Bay
Tree.
stink.
That's what I mean. But they've been able to find a compete. They're going to build like Tampa, where you're not going for the big time names. You're going to the Dollar Tree and trying to find the best deal that they can give you. That's what I think that they're going for in the future.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, my whole point was, again, I don't think they have enough to get to where they need to be. And why am I looking at this as taking a shortcut? I want to start the foundation and get as much value back. And I feel like by keeping Luis Robert Jr., you're taking a shortcut because you're not getting as much back as you possibly could to truly rebuild it. Like the Bears, they traded everything away, Mac and everything,
Oh.
No,
to start at ground zero.
We don't know if the
I'm
Bears
surprised Eddie Jackson didn't get traded.
By the way,
That's
we
not
don't know.
bad
We don't know if
motivation.
the. By the way, just telling all you guys here right now, this might break your hearts. You don't know if the Bears thing's gonna work. So the Bears thing could be White Sox.
Get the fuck.
I'm just being. Hey, we don't know. We don't know. That's the thing with
Bro,
Chicago fans. You
I'm
think it's a
Justin Fields
guaranteed.
fan.
You guys think it's a
The
guaranteed.
Steelers just picked up a great.
Well,
running
I'm
back.
telling you, Junior, I'm
Steelers
telling
picked
you,
up a
I'm
great
telling you right
realistic
now,
running back.
the Bears and the Blackhawks have done it the right way to this
Thank you,
point.
Gonzo.
They have completely.
Wow, Gonzo's
They did not
spitting
take a
facts.
shortcut. They
Didn't the
completely
White Sox do the
started
same
it.
thing in 2016?
Correct,
No.
Tony. Yes, they
No.
did.
They did this-
They traded for all the top prospects. They traded their key pieces, Chris Sale, for all the best prospects in Major League Baseball. Yoan Moncada was Caleb Williams, better looking without painting his nails.
Damn, you're not gonna drop this
Yes, he
bomb
was.
on me.
Yes, he was. Yoan
Don't do
Moncada
that.
was Caleb Williams, better looking and without painting his nails, because no
I don't
one
know how to
in Major
handle
League
that
Baseball would
statement.
say that Yoan Moncada was a
I'm
misguy.
conflicted.
Nobody.
Wow.
Nobody said that. That's why the year before the White Sox
Gonzo,
did
you're
not
gonna have to
ask for
clip this
Moncada.
shit.
They asked the Red Sox gave him Devers, and they waited and they sat out, and then the Red Sox realized Devers
So
is better
who's the
than
fucking
Moncada.
Rafael Devers of the college football? Is it Drake?
I don't
May?
know. Maybe somebody is there, but don't tell me that Yoan Moncada was not a top prospect. He was the man. Him and Michael Kopech, dude. People were crying in the stands when Michael Kopech pitched his first game in the rain. People were like crying, like this
It
is
was
their
allergies,
year.
bro. Everybody has allergies.
When Dylan came over, people were like, "Oh my God, we didn't draft
Thanks,
him.
Cubs.
He's going to be the greatest pitcher in White Sox history because of what the Cubs drafted him." Eloy
But Tony,
Jimenez,
who did?
they said 500 home runs
Hold up,
guaranteed.
OJ.
No way.
I'm out, OJ. You can't make that comparison.
What do you mean you can make it? Yes, you can. In 2016,
Caleb rookie contract, you can't compare that. He's got to play 4 years before you can pay him. Whereas Moncada, they paid him after 1 year.
Moncada was already paid. He was a
Exactly.
He was
You
you
can't
didn't have to
compare
extend
because of the
him.
money. I get the talent. I agree with you on the talent side of it.
This shit
Prospect
got
wise.
sideways.
I'm just saying that they all had great
They can't make
prospects.
that comparison because the money
White
side
Sox-
of it is
the White
completely
Sox
different.
are ahead of the curve than these two teams.
All right.
I'm not saying that it's not going to work for these two guys, but like what Tony just said, the White Sox went down that route with rebuilding with a lot of talent.
But
Also,
back
it's
in,
Tony's fault
but
if
back
it
in
don't work.
2018, they didn't have a Robert
I got it.
to make this comparison.
Again, Renteria couldn't develop them. He developed them to a point. Tony couldn't get him over the hump, got him to one playoff. So again, talent was on paper, the talent was there. It was. When you look at the rankings on the top prospect of Major League Baseball, there's that meme that goes around where everybody will salivate. They had all the top prospects in Major League Baseball. I remember
Yeah, but in
making
this situation, the White Sox
I got
didn't
your
have-
top prospect right there.
That guy was not, by the way, that guy wasn't even on that list because they weren't even thinking about him. That's how good they were. Major League Baseball had this team and Jeff Passan and everybody winning the World Series 5, 6, 7 times. Like there's graphics of it. So you're telling me that no one, dude, this was supposed to be the team.
And I would just
But
make
I'm
the
saying-
argument, Chris, before I got to get out of here. If you go
Yeah.
down that path again, it's going to be a lot longer of a turnaround, and it's not guaranteed. That's why I feel sort of fucking hopeless right now, because you can make these trades and get rid of. You've already started it by getting rid of Dylan Cease. The next one, yeah, sure. I don't have a crystal ball, but you can make the argument that people are going to get excited for the prospect return that Luis Robert Jr. is going to bring. But we're just doing the exact same thing over again. It's not going to get over that hump until they get real talent in. You've got the general manager who was in charge of this last rebuild from a development standpoint. What makes you think that there's any sign that this is going to be different again the second time around, just because a guy got promoted?
Do you?
You
All right,
need- you
let me
need
ask
to-
you
you
one
need to
last.
plug
Let me
this.
ask you
Yeah,
one
go ahead.
last question here. Do you feel that way? That's going to take that long just because it's Chris Getz at the helm, or do you feel that way in general, that it doesn't matter who's there if you have a competent front office, that it's still going to take that long?
Well, I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to tune in. We did a whole deep dive on this rebuild over the offseason at Sox on Tap. And we brought in a bunch of different guests to talk about different aspects, from development to drafting to the trades that were made, everything. And going back through it was, I mean, it was painful, but sort of putting that back in your mind, you're setting yourself up for another 5 years of getting excited to make it to the playoffs and get curb stomped by Houston again, or New York, or whoever.
Put
it
your
is
mouth
that's
on the curb,
spending more money.
SouthSide.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. They don't have the elite level players on this roster, and they haven't proven that they're going to go get them. Guys that know how to win, Bryce Harper's, guys like that they had the opportunity to bring in. And if we go through this whole thing again, as Ozzy said earlier here, there's no guarantee that they're going to supplement this back. When you have a guy like Luis Robert Jr., if he develops, the next step that he needs to become is a killer at the plate. And not as streaky as he is right now. But he's the one guy that's on this roster that could potentially, in my opinion, have the ability to do so. You haven't seen that from Andrew Vaughn. Eloy Jimenez has largely proven who he is. Yohan Moncada's gone. Who else is out there? I mean, Colson Montgomery, yes, some good prospect pedigree, but he's nowhere near the level of hype that any of these guys that came up here last time had when it comes across Major League Baseball. It's a pretty dark place, guys. Like that's where I'm at right now. That's the reality. Maybe I've hung out with NWI Steve too long, and maybe that's skewed my thought process here. But it feels like there is no light at the end of the tunnel.
No, Tony, you're right. So if you haven't watched the On Tap show when they did the analysis and the breakdown of the build of the Sox organization, please go watch it, because even though I know a lot about the White Sox and how they build it, I learned a lot, made me come up with my theory. Tony, because of that show, I actually went back and I started doing the math, and I actually talked to Ozzy and said, tell me about the rebuild that you were a part of before they used to call it rebuilds in the 1980s, where Ozzy came in like 85, they won the division in 83, and then they basically got rid of all the big names, kept Carlton Fisk, Ozzie Guillen, and Ron Karkovice. And they started rebuilding like around those three players. And it was like slowly drafting. So from 86 to 87, we had like fillers, but we were slowly building until we won the division in 1993. Okay, look at that time frame, 86 to 93. Okay, and that's maybe because the division was a little harder then. When the White Sox flipped, they tried to go for the division a couple more years, and then Jerry Manuel and Kenny Williams turned it around in 2 years. 97, the white flag trade, 2 more years, they make it to the playoffs. They can't do that. It doesn't work out. They throw a Hail Mary, bring in Ozzy, fail the division the first year, rebuild the team real quickly, get to the World Series, win it. They try to win, one playoff. This format was different. They try to go for a run, but it's like all positive years above 500 except 2. They're there. They let Ozzy go. They give Robin a good team. Robin chokes in September, but they were there. Then they start rebuilding again. What the point is, unless you get lucky and rebuild really quick, it takes between 4 to 6 years to have guys play. And why I notice this, when you look at Ozzy's core in 2005, all those guys were in between year 4 and 6 of their careers of full-time playing Major League Baseball. Meaning Jerry Manuel dealt with these guys when they were struggling and prepared them really well. That by the time that Ozzie got him in 2005, 1 year with him, and then in 05, these guys were like big league ready players. He wasn't going out there with a rookie at each position. And that's where I think, Tony, you're right about saying that, like, it's going to take time. When we think about the Birmingham project, if you have 4 or 5 guys in your core, look at Houston, look at teams that have done it. That's a lot of players from your core. So you have to build your core, meaning letting them develop and then making the right moves via trades and bringing key players. So still that time frame of this, like, we're going to turn it in 2 or 3 years around. The only way that you turn a team around, in my opinion, in 2 to 3 years is by just spending a lot of money, just going out and buying it. Because if you're trying to do it like just building it from within, you're not doing it in 2 years. I'm sorry. It literally has never been done from within.
Like Gonzo said, we had the triple OG, the CEO of Sox on Tap Sports, Tony. I want to say, a wise man told me, don't give a man his flowers if he's just going to piss on him, but just, God damn it, I can't help myself. Fucking Steve, Northwest Indiana Steve, has been putting in great work. And at the end of the day, me, the consumer, I love reading you guys' articles. When I first got on the Bird app, known as Twitter, I followed Buzz. He was one of the first guys I followed. And you guys, it led me to Drew Stevens, led me to you. And now, all of a sudden, we got the fucking cesspool of White Sox Twitter. And I want to thank you guys because I consume a lot of you guys' work. And Steve, you, Buzz, everybody else, bro. It was decent having you on tonight. I appreciate you joining us, bro.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciated the Sox conversation. I'm a sicko, so I'm going to go do this again over at Sox on Tap tonight. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's a full night of White Sox talk for me. Again, appreciate it. Justin, Chris, thank you for the invite. Junior,
Tony, top 3 White Sox show, by the way. Tony has top 3 White Sox show. I'm not making you guys rank yours.
Ooh,
I did mine already. I did my ranking
Tony in
already.
the top 3.
In mine, again, mine personally. So there's, what was it, 25 Twitter White Sox shows that people listen to.
Oh yeah,
White Sox on Tap is the show that I listen to.
Appreciate that, Ozzy. We'll keep it going for you, man.
Tony,
The other sports, I'm listening at like a jarhead because I don't know anything about it.
Tony, really quick before we let you go here, give our listeners where to find you and anything you got coming up for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find the network at OnTap Sportsnet on Twitter, youtube.com/OnTapSportsnet. We do everything from White Sox, Hawks, Bears, Cubs, Bulls, some golf stuff. It's a wide variety of stuff, but you can find it all underneath at OnTap Sportsnet. There's individual accounts for our Sox content at Sox on Tap on the X Twitter app. Thank you guys. You can find me at Tony on Tap. It's right there in the handle. Appreciate it again.
Yeah,
thanks, Tony. Keep us tuned on anything you got special coming up. We like to promote other people that have been on with us. Tony, hopefully we see you Monday, but have a good show, boss. Have a good one, bro.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tony.
Crack them.
By the way, Targaryen, where did you get that hat? That hat looks like it was from like 1991, 1993.
Yeah, I did. Fucking Royce Clayton gave it to me in '97. Next question.
I'm just saying that it looks like the traditional one. That's the White Sox. That's when I was a diehard White Sox fan because I know that everybody was dying of knowing because you said I'm going to call you out.
Man, bro. So I was born into White Sox fandom. That's one of the few things I got connected from my father. Like all of the pictures I showed you, he has White Sox jerseys on. If it wasn't for him, I don't know. I would just probably be a Red Sox fan. But thank God that there's some Southside blood in me because when I dive into the history, like with Senor, Paul Konerko, Karkovice, when you go into the list of dudes that we had, like hard-working guys, like put your nose to the grindstone type of guys, like that captivates me to the point to where it makes me want to get up and take my ass to work every day.
How many championships did those guys win?
Paulie got one. I can't
No,
say
I'm
the
saying, no,
same
but
for
like in
everybody
general.
else.
So okay, so here's the thing. So White Sox fan. So no, I'm. This is a point that I'm trying to make, where people are talking about where I think that the point where the White Sox organization is right now, and I think that's what Ozzy's biggest frustration is. So, and I wanted to make this clear because Ozzy has a feeling for the White Sox that many people I will never understand because I never wore the jersey, meaning I never played for them. Okay. Ozzy is who he is majority of his career because the White Sox brought him from AAA to the big leagues. They give him a shot, basically. Not only to give him a shot as a player, and they give him a shot as a manager. Okay. So Ozzy's always been in this like just vortex of like a love and hate in the moments, obviously, like as an employer when you're let go and whatnot and the drama. But in his heart, Ozzy will never not be a White Sox fan. Like he bleeds that he cares for the team in general when they're seeing things going the right way, the wrong way. And I've never seen him concerned like he is now, including the Rick Renteria years where they were rebuilding. Like he was never, and he's always been like very in tune with the team. But like right now, he's concerned exactly for that point that you just made. This team, it's not just about losing; it's literally pissing people off to the point where they don't even want to watch the team. We're not the New York Yankees where we're used to winning the division every year. So that's how pissed these people are. Like people are not even.
Let's get into it. Let's fucking get
I'm
into
saying
it
people
right
don't
now.
even want. Here's the thing: people don't even want the new generation. Is like they're the ones that are asking for the rings. White Sox fans have been very happy and have supportive and have built this fandom for a team that's like fought to win divisions. And that's the part. Like today, Real Madrid played. That's my soccer team. If we don't make it to the champions, like our team is like bad. But I'm saying that's not the White Sox. The White Sox fans would love to be like, well, let's play for something in September. And that's the part where it's hard because when you ask them, we've never even had what the Twins had, where they've won like 4 divisions in a row. Oh yeah, they got eliminated in the first round, but the Sox fans have never had that, and that's what the
OJ.
they need to build again. They need to build this team to be like relevant in a point where you're competing for something, and not just a trash bag that you're just gonna get killed every night.
Bro, I gotta wear a fucking uniform. I work a regular 9 to 5 every day. I gotta wear a regular uniform, and this Sox hat is one of the few things out of uniform that I could wear every day. Do you know what it's like having to talk about this team because I love baseball so much? That's one of the few things I could come up with as a conversation. I know my therapist says it's a fucking joke, and I need to change anyway. But no, I like talking about baseball. But it hurts my ego as a man the White Sox are playing terrible baseball. Like it's hard for me to bring my team up in conversation. I'm addicted to the American League. I have to skip over the White Sox, right? This is not just a part of my fucking fandom. This is not just something I talk about on the podcast. This is who I am as a human being. And at a certain point, I love this sport enough to know where it's going in the wrong direction. At the end of the day got to end, and this White Sox team doesn't care about the game of baseball. It hurts, bro, because there's
But
no
so
pride
Junior,
or
I'll
tradition
say with the Bears,
anymore.
where talking about the kid Caleb, like for me, he won't be a failure if he gets us back to like playoffs and like excitement because anything can happen once you get into the playoffs. Like
I
guy
don't
fumbled the
even.
ball, whatever. No, I'm saying like
I'm not even worried about it. But
no. But I'm saying like getting the team back. Like for me, championships are built differently. Like you don't build a team like we're gonna win the championship. Like you make a team competitive. They get into the playoffs. Anything can happen. So the White Sox need to get back to that point of where you're competing for the playoffs, and that's why the Bears are exciting, and that's why the Blackhawks are exciting because you're looking at them and you're like, oh man, that team's a playoff. Like that team can compete. So I'm gonna watch them.
yeah, within
The
the next
Sox,
year to two, yeah.
yeah, like within the next, like you're like you can see the window of like saying like, oh, I can compete. So the biggest things that I get annoyed by is when people say, well, the Central Division is easy. Is it? We
No,
don't know that year by year. Like right now, it's not. So that's something very hard to predict. It's not like you're in the Central and you get to win 70 games and you're in.
it's the
That can
best
change
division
every year.
right now.
It is. So that's what I'm saying though. So like even like when Ozzy managed and people are like the Central Division is easy. I'm like really because we won like 98 games and finished third one year. Okay, like when they won the 2016, they won like they were amazing. And when you look at the standings, they're in third place. So you don't know what year your division is going to be like. So you can't plan on being like, well, we only need to win 80 games and we'll be in the division. Like
Well,
that's a real
at one
thing.
But
at
could
one
I be
point
honest real quick?
yeah, go ahead, Gonzo.
I'm not saying this as an optimistic person, but Junior, Jay, correct me if I may be wrong here, but I truly believe this could be turned around with the right people in place.
Agree. I think in 3 years, I've talked about it just before. If
Yeah.
if right now, if I was
But I
advised
asked
Chris Getz, if
Who's the right
2020
people? We don't have anybody in this organization that could put us over the hump.
But
Where
this
are we
is
going to
what
get the right people from?
this is what gets me. I believe with this whole decision that jury took place here with Chris Getz, we're truly behind the 8 ball because we messed up with the foundation with the manager from the get-go, and we screwed over the whole Dylan Cease situation. And now we're in this situation where we're all we got left is Luis Robert and how we're going to handle that
Okay,
going
so
forward.
you can. So I'm not saying you don't trade Luis Robert. You need to get the best deal in place
Right.
for Luis
And
Robert.
this is what I'm saying. If all right, Junior, let's just say Senior is the manager. Let's say for the hell of it, you are the GM. I'm in your ear right now, Junior. All right. I'm in your text right now and I'm saying, hey, Junior, get on the phone with Baltimore and the Yankees. Have them outbid each other.
Oh, I would.
You gotta be
Oh no.
you gotta be so maniacal.
No. I'm gonna give you right now. If
like
Chris
Poles
Getz,
was.
No. I'm telling you this right now, and I'm gonna say the front office. I'm not just gonna say Chris. I'm gonna say the whole White Sox front office. Right now, there should be somebody in that organization. So most people don't know this. I advised a team in Venezuela that won the championship, 38 years. Ozzy and I came over. I got Ozzy to sign. When we're making moves, we just came from a championship. There's people that we can trade to our team that would take us to like another level of like our team just got that much better, but we might have to trade some pieces where fans are not going to be happy. But we're always contemplating how do you make this team better? Because I'm not going to sit there and think with my heart and my feelings. I'm making a business decision of like, maybe we don't win this year coming up, but I want to be in the best position for the next 6 years so I can build a sustainable winning team from when I'm advising. So there should be someone on the White Sox organization right now, I don't care who it is, that is looking at potential trades with all the top teams in Major League Baseball. That should be his job 24/7, okay? And moving in team and saying, okay, if we trade Luis Robert to Baltimore, what can we get today? And it's literally like a stock market. You're literally looking at the market of what you can get the highest. So at that point where you think that you're like, okay, I'm never going to get above this number, like a stock price, and you know that you're going to have to sell this piece, you hit that point as close as possible as you can into that point. Why? Because Ozzy always tells us, anytime we talk baseball, he says, can that guy help us win in the next 3 years? Meaning a ring. And if the answer is no, that means that he's tradable. Okay. So in the next 3 years, either by contract, he's a free agent, the team's not going to be ready. If the answer is always yes or no, that's how you kind of line up a trade. So for Luis Robert, when you do the math, you can say, okay, in 3 years, he's going to be a free agent. Okay, in 2028. So unless you're 100,000% sure that you're going to lock him in after that year, if the offer comes in that is like above what you're asking for, you have to pull the trigger. And this doesn't mean that you're just putting your chips all in. It just means that you're trying to build a better team without
I got a question. Why wasn't Andrew Vaughn named in that Bob Nightengale leak? Why?
I think that they just put names on there, man. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I think that it wasn't. I think that the way that this roster is being built right now,
they went on the website and be like, "Oh yeah,
no,
contract value."
I think that there's nobody on that list, including any of the minor leaguers, that is untradeable.
Yeah, no, there's nobody in this organization that you can depend on to say, all right, I could build around. Because even with Pantera's success at the major league level, he still have yet to have a 162 game season and a 900 OPS.
But again, I think that winning in the next 3 years, like when you're looking and saying, okay, can they help us win in the next 3 years? That's why you got rid of Dylan, because you're like, I'm not going to re-sign him, and he's not going to.
Ooh, Dylan looked good, don't he, Gonzo?
He looked amazing against the Cubs. It was a great, no doubt.
I know how to get you moist.
But again, I think that you're trying to put the best. We need to get away from like names and superstars, and like, is this guy going to be the next Hall of Famer? And like, how do you build a great team and a team that's going to play baseball the right way, and then have people in the organization develop these players the way that they're supposed to develop.
No.
Development. I'm talking about, okay, I'll give you an example. And I wanted to talk development. Juan Uribe came over as a backup player. That coaching staff, and I'm not going to say Ozzie, I'm going to say that coaching staff made Juan Uribe an everyday shortstop. Okay. They took his talent to the max. Juan Uribe then played like 15 years in the big leagues. Great career. Alexei Ramirez got signed. Okay. Alexei Ramirez was supposed to start the season in Double-A. Ozzie Guillen, Joy Cora, and Greg Walker loved Alexei Ramirez because he was flexible, position-wise, and they liked the way that he swung the bat. Amongst the coaches, he was really well-liked. And Ozzie orchestrated a plan with his coaching staff where Alexei Ramirez would be the second baseman / center fielder, and they would give him the best chance to succeed in spring training so that he could make the team. Okay. And that was their development goal. Alexei played second and center field, opening day in center field. Then he becomes the everyday second baseman.
You know,
for the Chicago White Sox.
You know who that sound like?
Who?
The Red Sox got a guy named Ceddanne Rafaela, and
Okay,
I think
yes,
that's the carbon copy of Alexei Ramirez right now. All Alex Cora got to do is keep the nest around him so he could grow into what he's going to be.
What he's going to be. So then you grabbed him from second base, okay, and then you moved him to shortstop, okay, and then he had the Silver Slugger years and all that, but that was development, okay. What was the other guy's name pitching wise? Matt Thornton, okay, John Garland, okay, guys that Neil Kotz, guys that came to their organization. And I'm not, and again, this is not Ozzie's credit. This is to, Don Cooper, Greg Walker, Joy Cora, Harold Baines, the coaching staff, the minor league coaching staff. Okay. The development of the players was key because you wanted guys to be able to compete in the big leagues for years to come. Okay. So that's what you're looking at. And here, like, for example, I talk to Gordon Beckham all the time about people like, oh, he's a bust. I'm like, well, not really. He played 10 years in the big leagues. The White Sox just thought he was going to be something else, that he wasn't. But he could have played everyday second base and hit ninth for many years for the White Sox. But they just wanted him to be, Derek Jeter, and he wasn't. Again, they misdiagnosed, and that was one of the battles Ozzie Guillen had with the front office, because the front office was like, Gordon Beckham is going to be, the next Frank Thomas, and Ozzie was like, why can't Gordon just be the next Ozzie Guillen?
Why can't he just be Alonzo Ball, a role player?
No, but I'm saying like because Gordon's defense was amazing, and Ozzie was like, Gordon's defense is like above average elite. Like, he could catch the ball. Was never an issue catching the ball, and they wanted to mold him of like, hey, let me hit this guy 8th and 7th and hide him, and that's when conflict started. Let me move Diane Bisato. Like, let me work with these guys. But the development, that's when clashes started happening.
OJ, it's the same thing with the Cubs. Like, the Cubs didn't bat Darwin Barney in those situations that the Sox batted Gordon Beckham. They allowed him to develop into a gold, allowed him to be consistent enough to win the Gold Glove. You know what I'm saying? Like, Gordon Beckham was never able to stay in the lineup long enough and be consistent enough to let his defense get him a Gold Glove. Because I'm going to be honest with you, OJ, you hit it on the head right now. Expecting Gordon Beckham to be Mark Loretta and Robin Yount, you're not going to reach his ceiling. But once you move him lower in the order, put him in that Fernando Vina, that Ray Ordonez role, boy, his ceiling could go through the roof.
And people always say like, oh, why do you always use Ozzie? Because I'm like, well, I know him very well. It's like when you hit Ozzie Guillen 9th or you hit Ozzie Guillen 2nd.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. It's when you hit Joe Creedy in the 7th hole or hit him in the 3rd hole. And that's when managing
Joe Creedy hitting 7th won me a fucking ring.
Correct. And that's when you're building again, this kid Ramos and the Caros and the Corey Lees, And I'm gonna put Andrew Vaughn in there, like even Sheets, who has a couple more years in the big leagues.
KG shooting shots. He hates the White Sox these days. We need to put a winner out for KG, bro.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's again my main concern right now. Irrelevant if Pedro Grifol can manage a big league team for wins and losses. I need him to manage a team for development.
Just more losses than wins.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna lose, you gotta lose the right way. Like, you're looking at the standings defensively and saying, hey guys, like, you're coming in and saying, okay, we hit the cutoff man. Hey, we ran the bases well. Hey, we moved the runner the right way. Like, literally teaching, like, bringing that core baseball build out of. I'll give you an Ozzy example in the Winter League right now. The White Sox had the Tiburones had the worst bullpen when Ozzy got there. Their bullpen was not good. And Ozzy said, with Big Z as his pitching coach, he said, we're going to keep it simple. First pitch strike, Don Cooper school. Everybody that comes from the bullpen, our goal is to get on top of the count, okay? If you had a great outing, but your first batter, you did not get on top of the count, it was not deemed a success in Ozzy's eyes, okay? Guess what? Everybody was like, we got to throw first pitch strike. First pitch strike they got that down like the first 2 weeks, and then baby steps, building blocks to be able to succeed. Once Ozzy was there for 20, 25 games in, the bullpen had become the best bullpen in the league. Ozzy said, that's not my catcher. Remove the catcher who was an offensive catcher, put a guy that could actually catch defensively. Those are the things when you're developing. It's like, what does my team need in order for me to get better? So is it moving a big bat because I can get a couple guys to become better hitters? Like that Andrew Vaughn, if I could tell Andrew Vaughn right now, say, Andrew, I don't care if you hit 10 home runs this year. Find the base hits to right field. Give me good at-bats. Grind out at-bats. Because he will find himself, because he's a big boy, he will find his...
I think asking Andrew Vaughn to be Christian Walker is too much, but if you put Andrew Vaughn in the position to be Joey Meneses, then you could probably see dividends. At the end of the day, this roster isn't constructed to allow anybody to grow. Whether you're the leadoff guy,
you don't need to have guys.
Role player.
You can get the playoffs. There's been multiple examples of how to make to the playoffs. You can make the playoffs on being heavily pitching. You can make a playoff team heavily on offense. You can build a playoff team on a mix of all three. With the White Sox, and this is something Gonzo said, if they do really have that in-depth prospect of pitching, okay, where you're going in and you're saying, okay, we're going to be in the top 5 pitching every single year, a la Atlanta Braves, okay, where their pitching was just year in and year out. It was just like lights out, okay? Your offense does not have to be an offense that dominates in every cylinder. You can have a well-balanced offense where you're like, well, we score 4 or 5 runs, we're going to win this game. Why? Because our pitching is just lights out. So that's where I think Getsy needs to realize and say, okay, what's going to be the core of my team strength-wise? Is it going to be
right now, the only competitive part of the team is the starting rotation, and 90% of those guys probably got 1 foot out the door or 1 foot on the bus. So, to your point, OJ, there's no foundation in that. What's the next best thing? Your bullpen is comprised of a bunch of, let's just say 24 to 29-year-old guys who, you don't know, the bullpen is volatile. Your lineup is a piece of shit. Let's just be honest. You had Gavin Sheets batting second the other day with no protection behind him.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
No fucking sense.
Gavin should be hitting 3rd or 4th every day. The fact
he should be batting 4th.
That was an asinine. That was an asinine position for him to hit in at number 2. That was just moronic. I have no idea what one of Pedro's worst moments managing. But right now, and Gonzo and I align on this. I love pitching and defense. I really do. I think it's a part of the game where if you have great pitching and you have great defense, the talent level of baseball players, they're eventually going to hit something. So that should be their focus.
Tech pause, because I was so pissed off when I saw the whole bullshit of Dylan Cease saying what he said this week about last year, and everyone wants to say, oh, Dylan, if you pitched better, we would have had a better year. Why did those stats reflect that of Dylan last year? It's It's because we were worse in defense. Like one of the worst teams in the league in defense. He was getting outs if he had 200 plus strikeouts. He fought himself half the battle doing that. The other half of that is supporting him and getting the other, in these situations where those walks get on base.
Your pitching becomes that much better when your defense is really good. Why? Because wherever they hit it, if it's caught, and that's something that people overlook on great teams. For example, the era of the Houston Astros, when they started doing the shift, I think that the reason that they became so great during that era was they were one of the first teams to really, really lock in on the shifts, where they were a great defensive team without it. And when they added the shift on them, dude, they would hit balls in the gap that you're like, that's a double. And all of a sudden you'd be like, oh my God, Springer just got to that ball. Pitchers were getting outs, okay, but now they're getting even more outs because of their defense is at that level. How many Cy Youngs were with the Houston Astros those era when they had that good defense?
Cole, Verlander.
Okay, I'm just saying though, if you have good, and then
McCullers was getting votes. Framber's weak ass was getting
everyone
votes.
talks about the
Christian
Indians.
Javier was getting votes.
The Indians. I owe $100 to the cup. The Guardians. Everyone talks about the Guardians pitching. Well, guess what? The Guardian pitching has had during the last 10 years go with their great pitching. They've always been a great defense. They catch the ball
unconditionally.
The key point to what Dylan said. Oh, by the way, nothing he said is anything new because he said it to Chuck Garfien in spring training.
Yeah.
But anyways, going back to what Dylan said, the key point to this, when they asked him what is one main difference that has attributed to your time in San Diego versus last year, it wasn't anything that Dylan did in spring training or when he got there. He literally said, I began this last year with the White Sox, what he's doing right now. Shocker. And go back to the first 3 starts of last year. You saw a difference to his game. Obviously, that didn't remain consistent because there's so many parts of the team factors as a whole that didn't remain consistent.
Well, I think the team, I think the rumors of him getting traded every single day could have probably not helped, mentally. The team was just a disaster. Now, I think that those waters have calmed down for him. I think that he knows he's pitching at a level where they want him there. And I think that the maturity of Cease as a pitcher, from Rondon's last year on the Sox to where he is at now, if you're going to give any credit to development of the White Sox from that standpoint, was he really grew as a pitcher in that time. And again, I think the White Sox could have extended season. He would have been a great part for any future. They decided to go elsewhere with it, but I think that he's a pitcher that, again, when he has the right team around him, he will be able to compete and really go from there. So what do we have now?
Real quick before we end it. Let me ask you, Junior, are you shocked by Dylan right now?
Shocked? What do you mean shocked?
By his game right now. Are you shocked that he's on this level?
No.
Was I shocked?
Now you finna get this erection, Gonzo?
Hey, was I shocked?
Oh, we've been saying he's a top.
Make sure you wash your hands when
What did I say? What did I predict when we trade him? Me and you, OJ, what did I tell you?
You said that he was going to be better. You said his numbers are going to go back to Cy Young level.
But I mean, come on.
I said he's going to be a top 5 pitcher in the NL.
In the NL, yeah, you did.
Gonzo. And guess what?
Gonzo.
Hold on. Let me cook. Let me cook.
No. He got traded to a better fucking team with better players at every position with World Series intentions.
Okay.
So if that's not gonna spurn you to get better, what was Dylan Cease's whip last year, Gonzo?
But isn't that what I said when they traded? OJ, what did I tell you?
Errors don't affect whip.
What did I tell you?
He said once they trade Dylan, he is going to take it to another level.
He's going to another team that can fucking catch the ball and give him insurance.
Well, that's why I just said about the defense. Now hold on.
Credit on that because Ozzie,
I get it with the defense,
Senior,
but you're acting like Dylan Cease not getting traded.
Ozzie Senior said a long time ago that it would be great for the White Sox to keep Dylan Cease around, but it would be better for Dylan's career if he was moved out of the White Sox. because
I want
there
to
was
get
things
highlights
for
on
his career. Ozzy was like, it's really hard being that player, being that pitcher, again, being at the elite level, and you're playing on a team that is not even competing for
Dylan
500.
Cease is locked in 100% of the time. Like playing for a team that he knows is going into the ditch. That hurts the ego and that hurts the psyche.
No, correct. But I'm saying, like Ozzy said, when you're an offensive player and you're playing for a team that's under 500, historically, there's been MVPs that have played on subpar teams. Cy Young wise, there's a factor of like having that team surround you, good defense,
King
support.
Felix was the last Cy Young to win a Cy Young on a mid team, and that was
Correct.
because his win
Should have
loss was
been.
above was hovering around 500. He was
Should
like
have
10
been
and 9.
Dylan in 22, but Verlander
Correct.
had a career year.
Correct. But I'm saying it's just so he's always said you have to he said it was always going to be better for Dylan if the White Sox were going to go down this route of a rebuild if Dylan was elsewhere for his career and numbers.
And I said, he will elevate you. Because let me ask you this. Justin, what did Eric give me shit for with Dylan Cease? What couldn't he do?
He couldn't throw a fastball.
No. Besides that.
I mean, that
Which
was the one.
That has actually gotten better year in and year out.
Yeah, and he said he
since he's
couldn't
been
get through
thrown.
the 6th inning too.
Okay, hold that thought. All right.
Yeah.
Out of Dylan's 7
Shove
starts.
it right up his ass.
Yeah, out of Dylan's 7 starts, tell me how many starts he hasn't reached the 6th inning.
I think what, 2?
1. Opening day. He went 4 2/3 on opening day. Since opening day, he's gone 6 straight starts of going at least 6 innings. Actually, one of those he went 7. So right now, 6 out of 7 starts, he's gone 6 innings straight with quality starts in 5 of those 6. The only opponent that he didn't get a quality start throwing 6 innings was versus the Philadelphia Phillies. He gave up 5 in 6 innings.
Phillies are tough.
Phillies are unbelievably tough. However, he only had 5 strikeouts in that game, but that was the lowest. But he's looking unbelievable. He's just going to continue that because of, again, I talked about elevation out here in San Diego at night. Tough ballpark to hit in, let alone at night.
He likes being closer to
sea
Mexico
level.
too.
For what?
Has he been to TJ?
No, he has not been to TJ, and it was a joke.
Okay, well, I would have thought that was
By the way,
serious.
today's show was supposed to be 45 minutes. We're in an hour and 37.
Yeah,
It's
so
Gonzo's
SouthSide
fault,
Daily.
like always. It's Gonzo's fault, like always.
I finally got to cook finally, so let me cook. We're on SouthSide Daily. I'm sorry, Junior. I promise you, Junior, we'll rush this. So, schedule for this upcoming week is Thursday through Sunday. We are playing Junior's boys at home, the Cleveland Guardians. Look how excited he is. Thursday, Fetty versus Ben Lively. Watch out, Junior. That's my boy Lively on Thursday in fantasy.
Same.
Friday, Crochet versus Carrasco. Saturday, a game that me, Justin, and Ray the Barber are going to. I think Junior should join us. Hopefully he does, because he would love this pitching matchup, by the way. The pitching matchup for Saturday is Mike Clevenger versus Mackenzie Slavko.
So Sox getting ready to take some batting practice, huh? You might see Ramos' first home run off of Mackenzie.
Oh.
And then Sunday is Soroka versus Logan Allen.
Yeah.
Guys, I think the White Sox split the 4-game series.
Oh, I thought you was gonna say 3 out of 4. You fucking scum.
Nah, I can't do that. I'll let you do that though. But Sox are, I think it's possible they could take 3, but I'm gonna go with 2 and 2. Naylor is a beast, batting 270, 9 home runs, 28 ribbies. go ahead. I'll let you guys wrap up the Cleveland series before I get to the next one.
Before OJ two-hand twist Brian Rocchio, I just want to say David Fry has been a terror, and we talked about Ron Karkovice earlier in the show. David Fry has turned into the Ron Karkovice of the Tribe. Coming off the bench, if you look at his numbers, I think he's batting like 290 with a couple, 3 home runs, a lot of RBIs, a lot of extra base hits. If you're looking for a fantasy flyer, David Fry is one of the guys. He has catcher, first base, third base eligibility, so you can move him around in a lot of spots. Gonzo just said me and him are shooting for Ben Lively to at least give a quality start. Hopefully he take the L, because we are, in fact, White Sox fans, unlike OJ. So I think we can get 3 out of 4, and the money game will be Sunday against Logan Allen. I think that's a game where we could take target practice, probably do a couple bat flips. Gonzo, you taking the split route. I'm going 3-4 Sox way. Thank you, Logan Allen.
For
So
those
I'm gonna-
that are listening, both Ben Lively and Mackenzie are on my rotation for fantasy going up against
I
OJ.
hope Mackenzie get fucking smoked.
They hate the team, but they just love getting their players.
Yeah, we do.
Just when I'm playing you, Junior, I gotta play him
Oh,
against you.
So I'm gonna talk real quick about Bryan Rocchio. It's his first year in the big leagues at 23 years old, and I want this White Sox fans to look at this, because when you look at Bryan Rocchio's numbers, because if you're looking at the team, this is where I'm getting to. When you look at the team who is leading the division by 2.5 games, you would think that Bryan Rocchio is scorching Major League Baseball and just playing at MVP type level, but he's not. He's hitting 212, okay, with 21 hits in 116 at bats, OBP 313, okay, piss poor, eight doubles. So when you look at his numbers, a little bit more Ozzie Guillen. Actually, Ozzie Guillen hit more than that. He actually texted them the other day. A little bit more Ozzie Guillen than Roberto Alomar, okay. But what's the difference here? Bryan Rocchio catches the balls that are hit to him. Okay. His team is defensively solid. Bryan Rocchio plays a role on his team. Okay. He is a role player. If you guys want to see what a role player looks like and what a team being assembled look like, please watch the Guardians. Please watch their manager's pre and post game show. Simple guy, not saying much, lets his guys play. The Guardians are a team that, when you look at it, there's one giant superstar who got signed to a contract, but they have a team. And that's why they're leading the division by 2.5 games. The White Sox are going to become the team that, for the American League Central, whoever can whoop on the White Sox will win the division. Okay? The Guardians cannot afford not splitting with the Chicago White Sox. If they can get more than 2, that would be amazing. It will be a little bit harder, though, because Mr. Kwan, the man, best center fielder in the American League Central, is out at the moment for 4 weeks with an injury. So he is a huge catalyst in their offensive threat, even though he's not as popular as other players. I do think Josh Naylor will have a big series against the White Sox, because
I think Winsell Perez is going to be better than Stephen Kwan at the end of the day.
By the way, that would be bad for the White Sox, because that means you would have 2 just amazing players on the team when you look at them. Again, the Cleveland Guardians are a team that show you of a well-assembled team around pitching. Again, I think Mackenzie's no longer, I don't even think he's a top 2 pitcher right now for this team because of the rise of the new arm. But I think that the Sox can hang in there with them, meaning they should be able to split the series because they got their biggest pitchers in there. I think Mike Clevenger is going to have a better start than his first start. Hopefully, obviously because of his development and obviously being able to move him in the trade deadline. But I think that the series is a split. If they don't split, again, it goes in the negative on the team and on Pedro. You cannot have your divisional rivals come to your house and take 3 out of 4, or even worst case scenario sweep. That's unacceptable. They should be playing to try to play spoilers. Like, we're gonna ruin the Cleveland. When the Cleveland leaves this town, Kansas City will be in first place, and then kind of set that mindset up. You're playing spoiler.
Ugh.
So before I move on, I want to also highlight Junior. Kyle Manzardo got his first base hit today.
About time.
So
Fuck this shit. You told us you was gonna speed this up. Now you're two-hand twisting Cleveland prospects. Speed it up. I'm done with you now. You know what?
to begin
cat.
Monday night, again, guys, for the live event, the White Sox game begins at 6:40 at home versus the Washington Nationals. And then our event goes on at 7. So 20 minutes after first pitch, we go live for our own event. But indeed, Monday through Wednesday at home is the Washington Nationals, who have been catching a little sparks lately.
Nah, I don't care. They don't got Lane Thomas. They don't stand a chance. Hey,
Hold on. Monday,
Right,
Flexen versus Trevor Williams. Tuesday, Fetty versus Mitchell Parker. Wednesday, Crochet versus Corbin. But the boy on fire, Jay, you should take it here because Abrams is coming to town. 275, 7 homers, 19 ribbies. I have the White Sox taking 2 of 3.
Yeah, CJ Abrams he's been cooling off a little bit. Average below 300. His OPS creeping below 900, and we're talking about an extra base machine. One of the few players that could have 40 doubles, 30 home runs, 10 plus triples, and plus 30 plus stolen bases. Like, he's a total base machine, but we're catching him at the right time. He's cooling off. There's no Lane Thomas. All right. So we got an opportunity to finesse somebody. And on the south side, you got to make sure you know how to finesse somebody. I think we could take 2 out of 3. Mitchell Parker scares me from the left side. He's a really good pitcher. I think he got a chance to be better than Kyle Harrison.
To be
Does Joey
honest,
Gallo scare you?
No.
I think they only lose that Tuesday game with Parker, and they take Monday, Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Joey Gallo will go deep. We will see his 122 average coming into town. But Joey will go deep versus
the
Whites.
Sox are that bad.
I think the Whites. The Nationals are 18-18, and they're looking at the White Sox like this is the team that lets us get above 500. The Nationals have the same record as the Mets, by the way. In the NL East, the Mets and let me look at again. Standing wise,
the Mets screwed me in fantasy today because they got rained out.
And by the way, they're only a couple games, so they're 500. The Marlins and half of the White Sox roster is at 10-29. So it's like, they're the National League stepbrother of the White Sox. So if it wasn't for the Rockies, they'd be the worst team in the National League. So I got the Nationals actually winning 2 out of 3 games against the White Sox because I don't see the White Sox, if they go 2-2 versus the Guardians, to be able to pull 2 more victories during the week versus the Nationals. So unless they have a disaster series versus the Cleveland Guardians, then they'll have a winning record versus the Washington Nationals.
He makes me sick.
He does, because mark my words, Bryan Ramos at his batting average of 357 is going to take him out.
Is it? By the way, are you going to pick Bryan Ramos as your pick to click?
I might, man. We're not there yet.
Mike, it's already set in stone, you idiot. We know who you are.
But that reminds me, guys, we're at the point of the show. Pick to click, and we got a man who bounced back and got his first victory of the season this past week, and that is Chris Breezy. Chris, great job, Justin. Great job with your first pick to click win of 2024.
Stop clapping, making me seem like a fucking loser.
Who did he win with?
Corey Lee.
Yeah, baby.
Corey Lee and Eloy both had 1 home run. I think they both had actually 3 ribbies, but
didn't I have Eloy?
Yeah, you had Eloy. And
Why come I didn't win? I thought Eloy.
Because he already said I won.
So homers, ribbies, you were the same, but batting average, he was a little bit.
How
more
about
higher.
walks? Who walked more?
It don't matter.
It don't matter. The batting
It
average
don't
was
matter.
higher. The batting
We
average
don't
was higher.
include walks in our fantasy blackout league. So
Don't say that out loud. You'll get laughed at.
So it was basically Gonzo just picked Corey Lee to make just okay.
yeah, 'cause
How?
now you
He
guys
had
are
a
tied.
batting average.
So it wasn't like a win, like he won. You know what? I'll give it to you. The fact that Corey Lee hit as many home runs as Eloy
Well,
should be a win.
if
for
you
Corey.
want to know the difference, it
You
was
know what, OJ? I'm writing your name
273.
down in the book, okay? I'm writing your fucking name down in the book.
What is that? Targaryen?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
If you want to know the difference, it was 273 versus 162 batting.
Yes.
Okay.
Eloy
You know what?
won this week.
Just talking about pick the click. So there's two players that fans completely hate.
Yeah.
But right now, the batting average leader is Gavin Sheets with 262. Home runs, Paul DeJong with 5. And you guys are not going to believe who the RBI leader is.
Benny?
Oh, yes. He's got 13.
Ooh.
75 mil bet. So fans are like hating on him. And I'm like, Gavin's leading the. So again, 13 RBIs for Andrew B.
Well,
Leading
Corey
the
Lee, cousin
leading
Lee
the-
is off the board, and Justin might go Benintendi as his first pick.
Yeah, who are you going to go
How
for?
you going to pencil in my pick? How?
I didn't say that for sure.
Oh, by the way,
Just
is this Tommy Pham's first week? By the way, you look kind of related to Tommy Pham, not because of the color. You guys kind of actually look like other physically. He's got the beard going. You don't.
What is this? Hey, you better hope I don't turn into Tommy Pham in our fantasy league.
Oh, by the way, Tommy Pham was actually winning, so you have to be winning in order to.
Don't worry about it. It's a long season. Hey, mind your business, all right?
Boy, this guy sounds like Pedro. It's a long season. Long season.
This
We're
is
working
baseball,
hard.
not football, baby. All right, bet. I'm going to treat you like Jock Peterson. I'm going to pull up.
Who you got, bro? Who you got?
Oh.
There's lots of options.
No, there's not. I
I'm
can't
gonna
even
surprise
pick.
you.
I can't even pick.
If your player gets released in the week that you have him as a pick to click, you get double the points. That's what
You know
I'm
what?
gonna be a new rule.
I can't say his name.
AV.
Are you going AV?
Fuck.
By the way,
Yeah.
AV last 7 days
Yeah.
hit a total of 143, 4 total bases, 3 hits, no home runs. So
Damn.
his home run is gonna he's gonna have to get a home run eventually.
What if he hits like 2 grand slams in a week?
That can happen. It still counts as 2 home runs only, though. But yeah,
That means people got to get on base.
You remember in season 1 when we gave a point to Benintendi if he got his first home run, you picked him?
Yeah, we did. We did. I just think Andrew Vaughn doesn't have a home run. I think that he hits a home run before Tame Anderson hits a home run.
Saying much.
Tame Anderson hasn't hit a home run since Ramirez KO'd him.
Yeah, since he got knocked out.
You guys know that, right? That's wild.
So I'm not going to take the easy pick to click this week in Tommy Pham. I'm going to shock you guys. I'm going to throw a pitcher at y'all because there's 2 pitchers that have 2 start weeks coming up. I'm not picking Fetty, but I'm going with the Southpaw. Garrett Crochet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would go Bryan Ramos, but I don't want Bryan Ramos to just have a wild week because I want him to just ease because White Sox fans are just going to ruin him.
If he hits 3 home runs in the week, he's getting an extension.
By the way, this Tommy Pham is like lightning. Like people are like Tommy Pham. They didn't even know who Tommy Pham was last year. White Sox fans are like, I love Tommy Pham. Like, you didn't even know who he was last year.
Hey, stop playing. There's some people like me that watch the game.
Yeah, less than 5%.
Those people don't matter.
You think? I'm just saying though, people acting like they know Tommy Pham. Like, oh, I know. They didn't know Tommy Pham until the story of him slapping people in fantasy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. I'm being serious. Again, he's
That's
always
true.
been a great player, but everyone's acting like, oh, Tommy Pham. I'm like, dude, you heard about him because you slap some people, not because you like a baseball guru. Like, calm down. Slow your roll, my friend.
Right. They don't even know Tommy Pham is the modern day Fred McGriff.
Ooh.
Oof.
That's no, it's not.
No, Fred's got more numbers, but
By the
they
way,
got
is
the same
Tommy
amount of
Pham doing
jerseys.
back-to-back AAU champions Tom and Mansky videos?
Yeah, I don't know. He might be Tommy Pham
When he
might be
wears
the
his hat,
Chuck Hayes.
when he wears his hat like this, hi, I'm Fred McGriff. Yeah, when he talks about like by the way, you know what? Oh, you better hope that he is. That's what the White Sox should do this week. They should put in the Fred McGriff baseball instruction videos that got the team to win back-to-back AAU championships. And the coach's name was Tom and Mansky. That's what they should. They should put Tom and Mansky videos in the team locker room to work fundamentals
every day.
Every day.
Every day until they build a 5-game winning streak.
Not optional. When they hit the cutoff, man.
Hashtag not optional.
Not optional.
Oh man! All right, so you're going Ramos, you said. Who are you going with?
No, I'm not going Ramos. No, I'm not going Ramos. I'm going.
Yeah, he wanted to.
I'm not going to go Ramos. By the way, Ramos. It's what's going to be better if Ramos goes 10 for 10 or Ramos goes 0 for 25.
10 for 10. Fuck it. I'll let you win pick to click so I can have.
No. I'm just saying though, but it doesn't mean that his development is going to be great. I'm just saying from a White Sox standpoint, if Bryan Ramos goes 0 for 25, people are just going to be like, oh, they're going to be losing it.
They're going to burn the team down.
Oh, they're not going to burn nothing. That people are just going to be like, I would pick Clevy, but he doesn't have 2 starts. I just wanted to be wild, but I'll take. By the way, I'm rooting now for Bryan Ramos big time, but I'm hoping that he does well enough, but he still needs more development. So
I actually don't think. I don't think it'd be crazy if he did go 0 for 25 because like no one really believed in him besides a selected selected group of people.
He goes, nobody believes in him except me.
There's only a few select others in my club.
Well, let's hope that it goes better for the other Cubans that have come lately. By the way, in the Cuban dynamics, it's not good for him. By the way, because it's always one Cuban works, one Cuban doesn't work. One Cuban works, one Cuban doesn't work. It's never been back-to-back Cubans that have worked. It's since Duque and Contreras.
I got to put in the notes. We got to get into Ramos talk next week about the opportunity to play in winter ball in Venezuela because I want to get it. I want to get into that. I'll save it for a week though.
Yeah, third base. We want him. If he needs more development, we can play him in third or second.
You hear that, White Sox? Specifically Ramos.
And we would take
Ramos at second, Moncada coming back.
Jairo and Zavala. By the way, we told Moncada last year for him to get more at-bats to come and play like for a week or so. Get back in the group. He was like, maybe this year he might have to because he should because he's probably going to be playing for a contract.
Hey OJ, can you tell?
I don't hold back as an advisor for my team. I go all in. We spend. We like spending. I'm like the Dodgers.
Hey OJ, I just need a favor. Can you tell Yohan Moncada he's my favorite player of all time, bro?
No, he's not.
He is. I swear to God.
I cannot wait. My dream is that Yohan Moncada goes to another team and he blows up and goes like an MVP run.
I'll lose all my fucking hair.
Here's the best part. He does it with Cleveland.
No.
That would be like the
he goes to Cleveland and be like,
and just blows up.
He does it on the north side with the Cubs.
It wouldn't be as great as doing it with Cleveland.
No, low key, I think Moncada and Ian Happ are the same person. Ian Happ's just fucking more locked into baseball.
Moncada's better looking.
All right, Junior, what did you ponder at here?
No, I'm gonna go. I was between Corey Lee. Obviously, he's off the board because he won.
Oh, you still in my answer?
No. I think he's gonna have a good week. I think Corey Lee's actually playing better baseball. You know what? I'm gonna go Tommy Pham.
Wow.
You know why I didn't go Eloy? Eloy's average is like 105. He ain't getting hits. He's going good, but he's not even getting hits, and we don't count walks.
Nope. All right, guys. Our picks to click are as follows. Jay's going Opie, Andrew Vaughn. I'm going with Garrett Crochet. OJ is going with the one and only Tommy Pham, who is the energy bunny for the White Sox right now.
Can I tell you guys something really depressing?
Sure.
Right now, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players with. I'm gonna show you this right now. There's 6 players with a WAR above 0, and the WAR leader still with only 11 games played is Joan Moncada.
Offensive WAR, right?
No. WAR general.
Oh, doesn't Fetty have?
No, not counting pitchers.
Okay.
Probably not offensive. Let me look at the pitchers. No, I'm just looking at the batters. Let me look at the pitching.
I'm pretty sure Fetty's leading.
ESPN doesn't have WAR for pitching. Oh no, they do right here.
They do.
Actually, Fetty has 1.2, and the
Yep.
pitchers actually flexing at 0. Actually, the pitching staff has way higher WAR than the hitters. But yeah, so the highest WAR for a hitter right now is Yoan Moncada, who's been hurt. Corey Lee, Paul DeYoung, Tommy Pham.
All right, guys, it's that time of the show.
You make
Shout
me
outs.
sick.
Shout outs are here. Go ahead, make me sick. Take it away.
So first of all, we got to get the mandatory out. Shout out to Asia.
Hey,
Mother's.
pause real quick. You fixed your hole in your wall.
Oh yeah, I'm in a different room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
White
Carry
Sox won today, so I think we deserve a little bit of light. Had to give a shout out to Asia, of course. Mother's Day coming up. She's gonna be in the workhouse, taking everybody's money, making sure everybody get their sweets for the holiday. Got to give a shout out to Tony from On Tap joining us tonight. I got to cross that off my bucket list. One of the White Sox Twitter elites. On Tap been keeping it real for day one, in my regards, on Twitter. So glad to have him on. And at the end of the day, if we're going to be classified as a cesspool, let's just call it what it is. We're all in it together. And there's some people on the internet that want to break up the cesspool. You can't cancel what you don't control. So at the end of the day, we all are White Sox fans. That's the one thing we got in common. We had Tony on tap in the blackout. You understand? Like, this was a fucking epic show. One of my favorite of the season. So a normal Wednesday evening for you was one of the Wednesdays that I'll never forget in my life. So thank you, Blackout. Thank you, Tony on tap. That's it.
All right.
Tony,
OJ.
thank you so much for being on the show. Again, like I said, I've actually one of the goals that I had for this year was to get guys on the show. Gonzo knows this, guys that I respect on obviously shows that I consume from a White Sox podcast standpoint. There's another one that I do a lot, which is like White Sox in the Basement. That's one that I've been doing that I listen to a lot.
Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement, yeah. But again, I have a list now because I consume a lot of White Sox stuff, good and bad. But I'm glad that Tony, not only so much for White Sox, because Tony on Tap gives me my other sports where I'm not, as an expert as I am in baseball and as I am with the White Sox, Bears, obviously Blackhawks. You talk Blackhawks with me, it's like you're talking to like a kid in 3rd grade, probably, from the people are experts. Football wise, I watch it like I'm a meathead. So I listen to these shows and I get people's takes and I kind of make my comments when I'm amongst my friends sound a little bit better. And I'd like to shout out Yoan Moncada for still leading the team in defensive WAR, actually tied with Dominic Fletcher at 0.1.
And Dominic Fletcher is in the minors right now, bro.
Yeah, everybody else has a 0 or negative numbers. So I want to send that shout out to defensive WAR. Ozzie Guillen, greatest defensive WAR of all time in White Sox history. So I'm going to start giving a shout out to since we care so much about defense nowadays and accountability. Our 2 best defenders are actually hurt and no longer in the big leagues. Shout out to all the umpires out there. Been Gonzo, the former umpire. We got a crazy couple weeks coming up with IHSA rankings. with playoffs and whatnot. So, just people in the show don't know his name. I will find out who it is. I'm going to shout out. I know that Gonzo told me that Oswego East is where Noah Schultz went, right?
Mhm.
They have this shortstop, and I found out in the middle of the game that he's a freshman. I'm going to get his name because I'm going to give it to Gonzo because Gonzo wants to know to give the kid probably one of the best shortstops I've seen in high school in general. Did not know the kid was a freshman. So watch out. He might get another Oswego East future drafted player out of there. Very good program.
You need to do a Nazareth game so you can watch Landon play.
I've seen Landon play when he was younger. The White Sox are going to draft Landon regardless, probably.
No, well, I don't know how young you saw him, but I was shocked when I saw him at 13. But Junior, I need to get Strube on here at some point.
Strubin, the teacher?
Yeah. My hitting coach.
That's awesome. I did not know he was your hitting coach. No, but you know what? I think that we can talk about prospects. I think that he's.
What was your OPS?
Oh, this
Not
was a
very
junior.
good.
He was my.
He's a better pitcher than a hitter.
It became that way because they deemed me as a pitcher in junior high.
Couldn't hit.
No, I was a really good hitter, but then
Junior, that's what
I
happens.
knew the. I don't know how
arm got
much you
bigger
know.
than the
I don't know
other.
how much you know about the Lincoln Way West program, but
They're great. Great program.
they're very pitcher centric, and I knew my best shot at getting to that program going far, and it would be focus on pitching. So I switched from the hitting aspect to the pitching, and I didn't get to deal with Strube a lot in high school because I was on the pitching side, not the hitting side. But I only bring that up, Junior, because I told you they were undefeated. They were 22-0, but they lost last night. But Lincoln Way West is 23-1 because they won today too to end that losing streak. So Lincoln Way West, good job, guys. We're proud of you. 23-1. Last time I checked, they were, I think, 13th in the state, but this was like last week. I don't know if they went up or down, but I'm proud of where they're headed for the postseason coming up. So hopefully they go far in the state tournament. But yeah, shout outs. I guess I'll begin with the West program, even though that was unintentional. But I must shout out my one and only Soraya, who's in the other room, taking care of the dogs as always. And update, we're still fostering Gem. Gem is turning the corner. This has been a process. This is a process, and I think we're setting up the spaying appointment, and that's going to be the last step before we adopt. So we're getting close to adopting Gem. And I got to give a shout out also to Tony. That has been a work in progress because I know Tony's been really busy with the on tap network, and I forgot to get into it with him because I know he did a little rebranding with his network recently, but they come a long ways, and I always have to tune into them whenever I get a shot to. Last but not least, I gotta give a shout out to KG for pulling all this together. He had this poster right away as soon as we confirmed it with him. So last but not least, another promotional we did in the beginning of the show, but we're gonna do it at the end of the show too. Reminder, guys, Little Joe's on 1041 West Taylor Street on the west side in Little Italy. The event is going to be Monday, May 13th at 7 p.m. in the patio. Please make it. We're going to be promoting like crazy here this weekend. And I know you guys are going to be going tomorrow to the bar with KG and Slavko, and we're going to be getting things in shape.
Hey, stop telling my business, Gonzo.
Hey, KG's ready for y'all. So
by the way, yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, no. I got one more shout out actually. I did polls last week after that amazing draft. And after last night's draft selection, the Chicago Blackhawks got the second pick in the upcoming draft. They got picks 2 and 20 and another 2 picks in the second round. I think they have something like 7 picks in the top 100 or something like that. So my shout out is going to go to Kyle Davidson because he is going to be cooking.
He look like
still.
Ryan Poles, don't he?
Yeah, we got 2 solid GMs in the city right now, and they're cooking. I can't wait to see how that draft goes. I know Slavko is getting excited too. Slavko hit the Twitter last night. You know, I was happy to see him tweeting some Blackhawk hockey talk because that's what I get excited for when I look for Hawks Twitter. But guys, that's going to wrap it for shout outs. Do you have any concluding thoughts here before we end it?
Pride, passion, and tradition. Thank God for the Chicago White Sox.
Thank God for Bryan Ramos batting .357, showing that pride.
See,
and
it's always with
passion.
the propaganda. Just vote blue. Just vote blue if you want, Gonzo.
All right, guys. On that note, by the way, Bumcast, we're going to be there. Whiskey at Comiskey on Saturday. Y'all join us for Whiskey at Comiskey. Tune in to the Sox on Tap show right now. We are concluding this episode of The Blackout.